Welcome to the CoLab podcast series, brought to you by 𝗽liche, a law firm with an exclusive focus on entrepreneurship. In this podcast, we take you behind the scenes with some of today's most driven entrepreneurs, industry leaders, and innovators. We hope these conversations will not only inform but also inspire you on your own journey in business. Let's dive into today's episode.
Welcome, Gill, and thank you for participating in our CoLab podcast series. My name is Olivier Van Raemdonck. I'm the managing partner of 𝗽liche. I've been along for 10 years now, specializing in tech and corporate. And we might start with an introduction by yourself on your company, D-CRBN, and your role within the company.
Olivier, thanks for having me on the show. My name is Gill Scheltjens. Thank you for introducing me. I'm a CEO and co-founder at D-CRBN, a startup company in Antwerp. We're active now for 3 years. We are an official spin-off company from the University of Antwerp, and we're active in the climate tech domain. Mm-hmm. We're actually converting CO2 back into its original building blocks, namely carbon monoxide. We're providing that carbon monoxide back to petrochemical industry so that they can build the products that they are building for decades now, but then based on CO2 as a sustainable feedstock.
Okay, interesting. And how did you come on the idea of launching a company?
Oh, that is a very long story, but I will keep it short. We started actually in the first wave of the corona crisis. I was sitting at home. I was working at that time in Luxembourg, but I could not travel. It was at that time when I was sitting at home that the University of Antwerp contacted me to participate and lead a new spin-off trajectory from the University of Antwerp, more precisely from the plasma technology group of Annemie Bogaerts. And I had time to study the topic, and I saw a lot of opportunities, not only from my background, but also from the market. And I decided to jump with both feet into the pond.
Okay.
And that's how I ended up here today.
Cool. And where is the company standing now? Because you said you launched during the COVID crisis. How are things going?
We are evolving at an extremely fast pace. We are ahead of schedule. If I look back 3 years ago, we are 1 to 2 years ahead of schedule. And the main reason is because of the traction of the market, I have to say. We were able to convince big industrial companies to collaborate with D-CRBN. And as a small tech startup, that's crucial, of course, for your growth. We are at an extremely important milestone where we are now moving from the startup towards a scale-up story. We are now raising capital for the first time with D-CRBN, and that's how we are collaborating with 𝗽liche at this moment, of course. And that goes fantastically. I have no doubt that we will raise a significant amount of capital that will be used to complete our growth plan. And I have no doubt that this will be the start of something very big. Yes, absolutely.
Can we say that today is the right moment for your company to be launched, to accelerate, as there is a growing tendency or a growing awareness in the market on climate change, sustainability, recycling, let's say?
Yes, absolutely. Exactly. That's the main reason why I decided to jump 3 years ago. Because I saw that the market was evolving, and timing in this story is crucial. Timing is everything. And that's why I think now is the correct time with D-CRBN to accelerate, to move towards a commercial company. And it will not be perfect from the start. But you're putting a stake into the ground and you say, this is what we are going to do for the next decades. And that's exactly what I want to do. I want to pioneer in this domain.
And was the mission you have with D-CRBN, was that something that was pushed, or was a need from the industry, or the opposite way around?
Actually, to start off, there was a clear push from our side, because what we are doing is very novel. It's non-existing. So we were successful in creating this market, sort of, because we were just pitching and proving our technology first on paper by economic assessments. And that's how we convinced these large corporations to collaborate with us. And now we are actually in the state where we are piloting our technology, where we're proving our technology in the field. And then the next step is commercialization. And that's exactly what we are going to push again. Because you cannot wait for the market to develop this need if it's not existing. So in a sense, we were kind of developing this market and developing this push ourselves, yes.
And you already repeatedly indicated that you're working for big industrial concerns. What is the most challenging? Because on the one hand, you have a giant chemical company that where you set up a pilot, but on the other hand, I assume that you don't have time to waste as a little startup. What is the challenge there?
I think you named it correctly. For me, the speed of execution of both parties is completely different. As we are now piloting in the field in Seveso sites, safety is number one also for D-CRBN, and we have to comply. There is no way that we can accelerate on top of these large corporations because of the safety levels that are at hand. So we have to comply with these safety rules. And for us, that is challenging because that means that the process is slowing down. But it is necessary, and we have to comply. But that's something that we have to also take into account into our, let's say, industrial endeavors, that safety and certification as such is crucial and mandatory. So we have to take that into account. And that was also new for us. But by acquiring, I would say, experienced people, our operations officer, Olivier Van Raemdonck, has more than 25 years of experience in this field. So he's bringing also this knowledge to D-CRBN, which is extremely important also. And I think that's part of the success of D-CRBN as well.
And talking about the people, you're sitting on brand new technology, highly technological. How do you find, or do you still find the right people for the right spot?
We are very well placed in Antwerp. First of all, as a spin-off from the University of Antwerp, more specifically the technology department, the plasma technology department, we are in a very well position to actually start harvesting the potential from that group. At this moment, we have a team of 15 and 4 people have been directly sourced from this research group. So, but that's on the plasma domain itself, but that's our core technology. And you want to keep, of course, the brain capacity high at that field. But besides that, we have also other departments that we have to grow and that we have to mature as well. Operations, but also financial, technical. So all these departments have to grow at the same pace and at the same maturity level. And that's a little bit my job at D-CRBN, to make sure that all departments within D-CRBN are growing at the same rate. That's my job.
And I assume being a spin-off of a university is an advantage. Does it also bring disadvantages in selling your business to the market? Or what is the importance of a university, being backed by a university?
In the beginning, it had a clear advantage. Because the plasma technology group from the University of Antwerp is world known for their work. They have PhDs coming from China, but also from the US, to learn about the technology. And they're also pioneering in this domain, and they're known for that. So that's a big plus because as we introduce 𝗽Ce𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘀 to these large corporations, they always go back to the origin and they see that there's a lot of knowledge. And that's, of course, the first thing. But then we start growing, and then, of course, when you keep the storyline as a spin-off from the University of Antwerp, it's also a storyline that you cannot keep indefinitely.
Yeah.
Because at some point you have to cut the cord and you have to say, now we are a self-sustaining corporation. And we're at that stage where we have to change the narrative around 𝗽Ce𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘀𝘀. And that's, for me, will be transitioning over 25. But my ambition is to have a commercial entity by 2026. That is the target, yes.
Cool. And maybe, if you look back, and we're going to look forward as well, if you look back until now, what do you find is your biggest achievement with 𝗽Ce𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘀𝘀?
The biggest achievement with 𝗽Ce𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘀𝘀 is by far our pilot line, which is running now at ArcelorMittal in Ghent, which was extremely challenging for us from all perspectives. I would say from financial perspective, from the collaboration perspective with this large corporation, because it's a project where multiple parties are involved. So it's really a puzzle that needs to be fitting. But we were able to make all the pieces fit, and extremely promising in terms of learning school for 𝗽Ce𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘀𝘀𝘀, because I'm confident that the next project that we will do will be easier because you have this learning school exactly that you went through. So that's the advantage, I think, of having this.
How do you see scaling the business in the future?
Scaling the business is, of course, the challenge that is ahead, and that is we're actually forming the base now. We have been starting actually with vertical integration. So instead of going broad to customers, we started actually vertical integration, where we want to take more ownership in our own supply chain. So we have been forming a team where we can also serve with the basic and conceptual engineering. We have been auditing different suppliers so that we can supply potential customers in the future. So we are forming the base now. And then the next step, but that's of course after going through a successful investment round, we are going to open that potential towards commercial sales, basically. But that's, for me, the next stage.
And you already said, you're active in climate tech. What are the tendencies in your sector there? Because it's also brand new. It's hot on the market. Is it attractive for investors nowadays to invest in a climate tech company? And what do you think will be the tendencies over the next 5 years?
I think the climate tech domain is changing also in that respect. I think climate tech was the AI 3 years ago, where anything was possible. I think that is changing. So the requirements are getting more stringent. For startups, you have to be really, I would say, disruptive now if you want to enter that domain, especially for, I'm talking about the investment scene. So that's something that you really have to be aware of, I think. And but for the rest, the tasks ahead are so big still that there will be a clear need for investments in the future.
And what about the regulatory framework or the role of governments in this in this whole debate? Because we saw, you had the Convention of Paris, where there was a lot of ambition shown, but we now see a tendency in politics that people want to loosen the tides a bit. How can government help you And second one, we see it also in other domains like AI, where we see a big difference between US and Europe, where the European legislator has a tendency to over-regulate the AI. Is that the same in your industry?
Yes, actually, it's very funny, but you would think that due to the European regulations, which are stringent, you would think that we have the most success in Europe.
Indeed.
But actually, our top 5 customers are non-European.
Okay.
It is very surprising. But it shows a little bit, I would say, fear or the...
Is that a lack of ambition then?
It's not. It's more the fact that in Europe, let's say, the DNA of Europe is more risk averse than other continents. While the US, but also South America, because we have customers in Brazil, we have customers in Japan, in Australia, and that's our top 5 customers.
Okay.
But there's this affinity with risk-taking, and they see CO2 utilization as potential, as a market potential for the future. Okay. So they see CO2 has this potential to replace fossil feedstock in the future, and they want to be ahead of things. And that's the clear difference here in Europe, is that but it's new, and what will we do with this technology in the future? And there's a lot of uncertainty, but this uncertainty they are creating themselves based on the ETS system or the regulatory framework that we know and that we are using today, and that is necessary. So in that respect, I see a lot of potential in the ETS framework, because if it's not there, the large corporations will keep emitting CO2 because there's no penalty. Yeah. So it is indeed a push in the right direction, but you would think that this push would lead to advancements, but in the end, it is not. Yeah. In the end, it is pure the risk appetite in the DNA of continents, and I have to say, it's more prominent in other continents. But my ambition is really to grow first, of course, in Flanders, in Belgium, and by extension in Europe, because it is also my DNA. So I'm also from the continent Europe. We have also won a European grant, which is 2.5 million euros, which is relevant for growing. And of course, I want to be proud in what we are doing in Antwerp, and by extension in Belgium and Europe. So my goal is to really put a footprint, of course, in Europe, and then, of course, grow globally, because I see this potential of our technology to have a global relevance. I really believe that.
Taking that mindset into account, does it mean that your company is now more attractive for foreign investors, non-EU investors, that the risk appetite is less for these type of investors compared to European investors, or not?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In a nutshell, yes. We do have interest also from the Europe Innovation Committee, and they also have this vehicle to invest, and they will be part of our investment round as well. So we have won this grant, 2.5 million euros, but it's blended financing where we can also take part of. They can also take part of the equity, and for me, having Europe as investor is also very promising from a regulatory point of view, because it does show that they are willing to change the narrative. But it will take more time for the ETS system to evolve in utilization of CO2 rather than storing it underground as waste. Yeah. And that's now heavily pushed by Europe, but that's something that we understand is necessary on a short time frame, but in the long run, this is something that you cannot keep doing, because it's the opposite of a circular economy. It's the most linear motion that companies can follow, and that's putting stuff in the ground as waste. And that's really going from cradle to grave, and that's exactly what we want to avoid with D-CRBN.
Okay. And you touched upon subsidies, grants. How important are they for your company and for the industry or the climate tech, let's say, in general?
Well, for growing our technology, for scaling our technology, it's extremely important. However, with D-CRBN, we don't want to be a subsidized channel. So basically, we have been very successful in getting also, I would say, industrial revenues from the start. We have been selling techno-economic assessments, doing R&D for corporates, and now piloting also, where we also get revenues. And last year, in 2023, our size of industrial revenues was 60% over the complete revenues. And that's exactly what I want to do with D-CRBN, is become an industrial player and not just emptying the
is that the way to do it?
channel.
I asked the question because there is the economic climate for startups to raise funding is difficult nowadays, and I see a lot of startups looking at alternatives to get financing, and that could be through debt financing, but a lot of them are also applying for grants, EU grants, Flemish grants, Belgian grants. But my fear is a bit that all of a sudden, if also that money dries up, that we'll have a lot of problems with over-subsidized companies. So is that a takeaway you want to give to high-tech startups, that you need to find the right balance between, let's say, private money or industrial money and grants?
I think it's a very important learning for yourself. We follow the customer-funded approach. And the main reason why I like that is because you can feel the market traction. And you just follow where your customers are pulling you. And you can do that at some, but there are some limits. Because if I keep following the customer-funded approach and I want to scale my equipment, I will need 10 years starting from now, and I will be overrun by competitors. Because even though I believe that we have a superior technology compared to competing technologies, the first one wins, and it doesn't have to be the best one. Because if the CapEx is spent and the installation has been built and you come up with a superior technology, they say, wow, fantastic. Come back in 20 years when this installation is obsolete. So you feel that you need to accelerate to catch the wave. So as much as I like the customer-funded approach, we have now reached this boundary where I would like to give it a push towards the market. And that's why I'm doing this investment round, of course, because I need capital to do that. But my advice for young entrepreneurs would be to follow this customer-funded approach. And actually, it's bootstrapping to the extreme, starting with nothing, a table in an office, in a garage even. And it's heavy. I have to say, we have been going through the mud for 3 years. It's heavy, not on the company side, but on your personal life. I can tell you, it is very heavy. But still, I would prefer it, and you have to love it. Because if you don't love it, you will not succeed, because it is very hard. And although the fact that we are very successful now and everything seems to have falling from the sky, I can promise you there's a lot of hard work behind that. So it is very heavy. And you have to be so aware of everything that is moving around you. And it's not only business, it's your personal life is affected.
And how do you
well.
keep the pace then? Because you say, okay, I love my job and that keeps me pushing every day. And I've been in the mud for 3 years. Have you been part of an accelerator program? Are these programs, is that the role an accelerator program should take? Being a coach to help you, let's say, survive during these 3 years of mud, or to keep you on track?
I think we did every accelerator program that you can do, but not for the sake of the accelerator program, but for the sake of networking.
Okay.
These accelerator programs brought us in contact with coaches, but also if you look at their level on a global scale, the dream. Mm-hmm. So much knowledge and introductions that we had at very high level. And that's exactly why I would say follow these accelerator programs and get known coaches on board, because it's extremely valuable for networking. Mm-hmm. Not for keeping the balance with your personal life, because they don't care. It is what it is.
And how important is it to have a mentor? Do you have a mentor in your professional life, or maybe in your personal life? Because that's something that comes often back in these podcast series, where people highlight the importance of a coach, or a personal coach, a business coach, a mentor. What's your opinion on that?
Absolutely. And to be honest, I don't have one mentor. I have many, because I like to keep a very broad view. And even the best mentors that I have are not in the tech domain, but they just give you a different view on things. And I appreciate that so much, because it keeps your horizon very, very broad. And that's what I like personally as well, is to have many insights. And then, and that's how we work at D-CRBN as well. It's not a very vertical organization. It's very horizontal. It's very flat, because I like that. It's in my DNA as well. I like to have all options thought through, and then to make a concise decision as a group, as one whole. That's what I prefer also, from a personal point of view.
And how do you keep people at D-CRBN, because you're on the verge of scaling up, new people will come on board, companies constantly evolving. How do you keep your people motivated to go for that next milestone? Yeah. And second, how do you keep them together? Because I assume that, the strength of D-CRBN, on the one side you have the technology, but you need your people to be able to sell it and to further develop the technology.
Yeah. We are screening for DNA. It has to match. I'm not looking for experts in their field or let's say people that have seen it all and know it all. I'm not interested in that.
Okay.
I'm looking for people who are curious, who are willing to go an extra mile, and have great potential. Great potential through willing to learn. If that's not present, it's not a match. We will not hire. I've worked in the past with people extremely smart, extremely talented, but very reduced horizon. Like, if it's not invented by myself, it's not existing. Yeah. That kind of attitude. And I hate that so much. Because what we are doing as a team is seeking information. I have information seekers actually on the team, because if we need a certain information in a certain domain, we will seek that person, and we will pay for that information, and we will incorporate it in D-CRBN. But in terms of DNA, I need to have people that are curious.
Yeah.
and that are open-minded and willing to learn.
And I assume that the team of 𝗽cie𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘀 is also a very diverse team, different nationalities, given the complexity of the technology you need. How do you go along with that?
Yeah, I think we have now 5 to 6 nationalities already, and it's still a very small team. We are 15 people. So you can feel that it's indeed a melting pot of young potentials. But what is very striking for me, and that's why I call us always the A team, is that there's a lot of respect for each other. And that also comes from this curiosity. As in, they are all willing to learn from each other as well. And that makes us a very strong team. And to be honest, it works fantastically.
Okay.
We're also in a mindset where we want to deliver for a specific customer of ours. So it's a fantastic team to work with together. And I'm so happy to be part of the team as well. It gives a lot of fulfillment for myself as well. And if I look back in the previous 3 years, everything that I hoped for
now
came true. And that taught me that we are doing a good job in getting the resources, screening the resources for the DNA that they have. And I will continue to push that forward throughout my career.
Cool, cool. And if you look at the future, you're raising money, you want to scale. What's the end goal?
Wow, the end goal for me is, I always say that I have unicorn ambitions. I have no problem in stating my ambitions. And I'm also very Flemish, so I'm also risk adverse from let's say, my background. But what I've seen in the last 3 years, the developments that we have done, the increase in performance to this equipment that we have brought, I have no doubt that we will be successful, no doubt. And I think we really have a spark in our hands that can really push towards a new industrial revolution where we are going to utilize CO2 to produce all the products that we are using on a daily basis. And that's exactly what I would like to achieve in the end. So that is for me the end goal, is really using CO2 as feedstock. For my personal, on my personal level, the future will tell. I always had the ambition, or I always knew that I could bring 𝗽cie𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘀 to a size of, I would say, 200 to 500 million euros. And we will see. Because for me, it's now going from a startup to a scale-up. So I will have to grow into this role to lead a scale-up company. And then I will have to grow into a role of leading an international-sized company. But I'm willing to learn. And I think that's very important. Because I don't know what I don't know. And that's why I like to have these mentors on board that have done it, so that I can have their feedback, so that I can learn from them what I need to do. And then history will teach us if I, one, am able to do it, and second, if I'm willing to do it. Because that I don't know yet.
Okay. And I think looking at your career and your interests, it doesn't stop at 𝗽cie𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘀𝘀, right? You have a broad interest in everything that is sustainability, that has to do with climate change, with sustainability. Can you tell us a bit more about that interest? Why?
I can explain that very easily. 𝗽cie𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘀𝘀𝘀, as on its own, will not be sufficient. It's part of the solution, but 𝗽cie𝗱𝗰𝘀𝘀𝘀𝘀 on its own will not change or solve global warming. We need to do everything. And I'm willing to push it also an extra mile. I recently invested also in a startup from Ghent, Go Ocean, that are targeting, let's say, ocean refurbishment, how to call it, but through smart engineering as well. And that's very important for me as well, that there has to be a link with technology. And that's exactly what this new startup can bring as well, is through, basic but smart engineering that they can really give our oceans a second life, and also act as a carbon sink. Okay. What I didn't know before is that the quality of our oceans have been decreasing the last decades tremendously. Seagrass has 4 times the more capacity compared to a tree at land. And the seagrass population in our oceans has been diminishing for the last decade. And that's exactly what I would like to bring also is it's not an or story, it's an and story. And if I can support new startups that can bring additional, let's say, aspects to this end story, I will support with everything that I can.
Okay. But is it the correct statement to state that climate change can only be resolved, let's say, if the whole industry accelerates in doing things? Or do you see also certain things that could be accelerated in our personal lives to make the planet better?
Yeah. Well, knowing that we are emitting 40 billion tons of CO2 per year, it's a very difficult number to grasp. I always explain it. If you have the Beijing Stadium, you imagine that being a rock, and we are emitting, that rock being CO2, we are emitting 1 Beijing Stadium per second.
Okay.
So as we are continuing this conversation, you just count the seconds, and that's what we have been emitting in terms of CO2.
Okay, it's huge.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's very big. And so just utilizing CO2 in the daily products that we are using, if we would use that amount, there's an overconsumption. I cannot put that into the products that we are using because we are not using that much product on a global scale. So yes, we need to lower our carbon footprint so that we are emitting much less. And then you can start utilizing CO2, and then you can start closing the carbon loop. But you can feel a lot of things will need to change. There has to be an energy transition, stopping the usage of gas and oil to produce electricity. We will need to move towards renewables. It's ongoing, but it will have to evolve much more and at a higher pace. And then what is remaining, that we have to reuse into products. And that means that also from our personal life, we have to do everything that we physically can. It's not difficult. I have to admit, I'm not a climate activist. I believe that we have to innovate. Instead of doing less, we have to do more.
Yeah.
And because it's easy to stop emitting CO2, you just shut down the economy.
Yeah, of course.
But of course, that's not a tangible solution. Yeah. So we need innovation, and that's what I'm willing to support.
And was that not? I think the mindset of people on the street are evolving, whereas in the past, when you talked about climate change, sustainability, you were considered to be a semi climate activist. Do you see there a shift in mindset? Or not yet, because of the fact that maybe the industry is not following as quickly as it should be.
Yeah, that's why we need these regulations, of course. So I do support governments to push, let's say, corporates to lower their carbon footprint. Yes, that's crucial. But I don't support is degrowth. It's already very difficult for Europe, or let's call it Belgium, and by extension Europe, to have a global presence. And if we have to degrow what we have, then we are losing all competitive advantage. And I think the advantage of Europe should be this innovative step that we can take, because there's a lot of knowledge and there's a lot of innovation present compared to other continents. But I think we're not harvesting the potential yet enough.
Okay, interesting. And besides that, you're a CEO, a founder of a scaling company, but you're also a dad.
Yes.
And you have a son.
Yes.
How do you balance your personal life and your professional life? Because you've been 3 years in the mud to bring the ship to where it stands now. But you have your interest and you have your stakeholders at home as well.
Yes. It's extremely difficult. I have to be brutally honest. It's virtually impossible. But there is still an advantage. And that is the quality time that I spend now with my son is really quality time. And for myself, I can also experience it more as quality time. It's my personal yoga session, going to the hockey field with my son. For me, it's also a moment where I can really take off the business from my mind. And that's really important as well. So I'm incredibly grateful to have a son that is healthy, that is also interested in what I am doing with D-CRBN. He's a very big supporter, and it's really bonding us in that sense as well. And that gives a lot of fulfillment.
Is that also a lesson that you give to other entrepreneurs or people working at D-CRBN to really insist that they deconnect from time to time from their daily from their professional services that they offer? For instance, at 𝗽ście, we find that very, very important. They work many hours. The tension is always on because we are in a fast-paced environment, helping people to raise funding, helping people to exit, etc. But at a certain moment in time, I really need to push my people to deconnect and do whatever, and they deconnect and all on their own way. For me, it's with my children. For others, it's walking trails or etc. But is that something you really push your people as well to do, or?
Well, actually, the culture that I'm creating at D-CRBN is a very flexible culture because I'm demanding a lot. We're at this fast pace where we have to deliver, and the stakes are high, and the tension is there as well. And everybody can feel it, yes. But it should work on both sides. So if there is something in the family or whatever, you have to log out, then the flexibility is there. You have to. And so it's very similar to what you just mentioned at 𝗽ście. We have the same type of culture. Flexibility is key for us as well. And it works in both ways. I want to have a team that I can call in the nighttime saying, I have this problem, can you help me? And then I need to feel backed. And I want them to do exactly the same. It's a return of favor. If somebody from the team comes to me, say, I have this problem at home, I have to be with my family, or I feel that it's getting too tight, I have to go out for a week. I find that is exactly the type of culture that I want to create. And it works. I will explain. It's even knowing that you can tune out is already a relief of the mind. You understand what I'm trying?
Yes, that's
just
something.
Feeling that the option is there, that you can walk out and that you can spend time with the family, or just tuning out. Knowing that the option is there is already much less stressful.
Yeah. I think I share the same vision as you have in managing this firm. There are two things for me that are essential. It's to give all associates, but also the staff, a safe place to work, where they can be themselves without having fear of, well, I'm wearing a pink suit or a black suit.
Thanks for the reference.
You come as you are. So for me, that's key. The safe environment that people are happy and they feel safe to come work. And second is a transparent and open communication. I need to know from each associate, from each staff member, if there are problems, just tell it. You don't have to tell it to the whole firm. You tell it to the people you trust. But at least we as an organization can anticipate on it, and it gives you much more return on investment, let's say, in economic terms, than granting everybody a periodical pay raise. That for me is
and to be honest, I think that's why there's a high affinity, and that's why I love working with 𝗽ście, because that's exactly, I think, what I'm trying to carry out is this authenticity, what I will never tolerate. And the people I work with, they know that because I tell them that. What I will never, ever tolerate is somebody who's wearing a mask on the work floor, causing toxicity. What I need is people to be themselves, with all their advantages and disadvantages. It's a very open culture that we are creating at D-CRBN, because if it's not there, then at some point it will stop.
Yeah,
it will create toxicity, and you will see that and it can start very small. This very small tension, and it can destabilize. If you leave it there, it can destabilize the whole organization, indeed.
Correct.
And that's exactly. And so I'm the most flexible guy in the team. If there is honesty, openness, willingness to learn. But what I really want to avoid is that people come to work wearing a mask, thinking that they can fully dissociate the workplace from the private.
Yeah.
Does not exist.
No.
Because we are not robots.
No.
You cannot just switch on and off whatever happens at home. You will take that to the work floor. You can try, but you will fail. That's what history has shown anyway.
I'm convinced about the same.
Yeah.
Maybe a last question to wrap up. At 𝗽ście, we're passionate about collaboration, innovation, establishing growth for our clients. If you would have one joker, with which organization or with which people would you partner?
That's a very good question. And actually, the first name that pops to my mind is Bill Gates, because of his work, of course, but also because of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, where they are also supporting climate tech heavily. We have also been reaching out to Breakthrough Energy, which is basically the funding body of Bill Gates. But they are very hard to catch because they're a US founded VC firm. And they like to invest in US-based companies, so they are quite hard to catch. But still, I would love to collaborate, or at least have a discussion with him over a cup of coffee.
Well, but good to know. We'll look in our network to see how we can help you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much, Gill.
It was a pleasure.
And lots of success with further building out of your company.
Super. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.